feels like one of those runs. Yep, there we go. Yep, that'll do. That wasn't satisfying. That wasn't very satisfying at all. Hey, what is going on, you guys? It's Epic here and welcome back to a new video on the channel. It's finally here. Everybody has been asking me over on my Twitch streams and also in my video, what AMON build am I using to absolutely destroy and trivialize all the content in the game right now on the max ultimate Vault Hunter rank? And well, it's the build I'm going to show you guys today. This build focuses heavily on ordnance and melee damage, as well as high ricochet elemental damage from the kickballer, which is very nice, which we'll get into in a little bit. The strengths of this build is high crowd control gameplay, strong boss deleting power, great survivability, and easy maintenance. The weaknesses of the build is that it is very gear dependent, so you're going to have to do a lot of farming. If you're not someone who wants to farm, I wouldn't recommend this build. It's easy to go down in boss fights due to just deleting everything on the screen, including yourself. And also playing AMON is pretty rough in general right now because he is the weakest Vault Hunter in the game as of right now, sadly. So with all that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and sub to the channel. It really does help me out. And if you want to see the full skill tree, you can actually go and see it on the sponsor of today's video, Mobalytics. I understand that it might not always be ideal for people to have to pause YouTube videos and copy stuff into their game, and that's why Mobalytics has a full skill planner, which I've got the entire build listed on, with some in-game tips that you can go and read directly, so you don't have to listen to my annoying British-Italian voice. It's also a real-time planner, meaning that if you see points in this build that you want to change and you're not happy with the choices I've made, you can make those changes directly on the site to get a better idea of how you can theory craft bigger damage on this build. And in addition to that, Mobalytics also has game guides written by super knowledgeable creators in the Borderlands community, like Lazy Data for example, and it has tier lists, so if you want to find out the best gun or character, you can go and find that out there. Now, I want to give a big thank you to Mobalytics for partnering up with me for this video, and yeah, go and check out the build in the description down below. So in terms of weapon requirements, there's not going to be anything major here apart from one gun, which is the kickballer shotgun. This thing is absolutely disgusting, and I'll show off why in a little bit here, but basically it drops from Sludgemore in the Fade Field. You will need to do a side mission to get to it, but you want to make sure that you get this with the Jacob's License accessory. This is not going to work without this part specifically. And while you're there fighting Sludgemore to get the kickballer, it may interest you to know that the shield we're using on this build also drops from that boss, and it's called the Onion. This is going to have 4 armor segments, and every time one of them breaks, we're going to be immune to all damage for 2 seconds, which is really nice. And in my case, I've also gone for the Spunky Augment, which gives me 10% damage dealt scaling with broken armor segments. So we're going to get survivability and damage here, which is very nice to have. Now, a little alternative to the Onion, if you don't want to get it or you can't get it because farming Sludgemore is pretty painful, you can get yourself the Fireworks shield from Splash Zone. That will also suffice really well. It's a pretty decent shield, but I would recommend the Onion. For the rep kit in the build, I've got a purple rep kit because in my opinion, none of the legendary ones are worth running right now, and I've gone with Power Cycle and Enrage, but I've more so just got this for Enrage because on use it will give us a 30% damage dealt buff, and while we will take 15% more damage taken, it really isn't too noticeable in combat for me. But if you are struggling to stay alive, then you could easily get something else like a melee damage buff when you take your rep kit, or splash damage, and so on and so forth. And now moving into our ordnance, we're using the Slippy. This is going to drop from Shadow Pelt. You can get this by fishing in game as well, but you just want to go and farm the boss. Now, On mine, I have the Augment Overflow for an extra charge, which I really enjoy. I have heard you can maybe get Singularity, and if that is true, then I would want to do that for more crowd control. But basically, go and get this. It's going to give us melee damage on detonation, which is really clean, but it's also going to trigger anything that triggers off of Ordnance as well. So we're kind of getting two uses out of that, and you'll see how that comes into play with the gameplay. Next up, for our class mod, we're using the Shadow White class mod. This is going to drop from Origo, which is the Vault monster, and it's the one in Terminus range. Now, there's a few things to point out about this. First of all, what it does, it's going to make our Forge Waves deal melee damage, which is going to be great for combat. And it's also, as you can see with my passives, going to give us 45% cryo damage, which is actually a fixed stat. And the secondary stat is going to random roll, so get what you want on here. I have more splash damage, which we're doing a lot of in this build. And for the skill points that you want on this, you are going for the red tree points. That is Enrage, what you can see in the middle there. It is crucial that you have points of Enrage because it's going to give us big damage, which is very nice. And now finally, all for the gear we need to talk about is the enhancement. And for me, I have the Lady Killer. Now, here's something important to point out with enhancements. I believe these only world drop. There is no dedicated source for this one, for example. So don't worry if you can't get your hands on one, but if you can, as you can see, the abilities here is absolutely disgusting. It mentions that anything with the Jacob's license part has a 20% chance to grant a crit when you hit the enemy, and it also has a 40% chance to ricochet on non-crits, which is just disgusting when you remember what we're going to be doing with the kickballer here. If you can't get your hands on this, go for a purple enhancement with some nice stats into shotgun splash or crit damage or so on and so forth. Try to buff that or anything else that we're using in the build. And for the ordnance on this build, we're using 3 points into Gadget Ahoy, which is going to reduce the cooldown of our ordnance by 15%, give us 20% more damage with it, and give us 20% damage when we get kills with it, which is very nice to have. And we have 2 points into Airstrike, which will give us 20% extra splash damage and splash radius. So this is what I'm going for here. I will say there is probably better options. There is probably worse options depending on how you like to play as a player. I have considered messing around with high caliber on this, real big fist, and other stuff like that. So if you can't get these firmware, it's not the end of the world. Play around with what works for you. This is what I have found to be super beneficial for the build in my experience, but I know that getting firmware can be pretty rough, so don't stress out too much. Into the skill tree for this build, I'm not going to spend too much time here. We have 1 point into Wrath of Nature, so we get more stats effect application chance. You can do more points into this if you want. I think 1 point is fine here. It's going to double when our action skill is active anyway, and I think that is plenty. I don't think we need much more than this. Next up, I've got 4 points into Scorched Currents for ordnance damage. 5 into Tail of the Comet. This is going to allow us to shred bosses with the Cryo Dot when we're meleeing. Then we've got Ancient Ways, 5 points for more cryo damage. And then on the left, we have 2 points into Machinist so that we can get a little bit of our ordnance back on kill. And then on the left side, we have Bullet Hail, 3 out of 5. Again, I don't think you need more than this. And then for our augment, we're using Eternal Winter so we can keep Scourge up more often because this thing has a really long cooldown, so we don't want that to go on cooldown when we're mobbing. And then next, let's head into the red tree. We've got 5 points into Discombobulate, 5 points into Tritanium Knuckles, 5 points into Wield the Storm, so we're going to get more stats effect damage here, which is really nice. I put a point into Forged in Steel, so we're immune when we do activate our skill, just so that when you're popping that wall, you're not just getting instantly deleted. And then lastly, in the bottom left, we have 5 points into Berserk. This is absolutely crazy. When we activate our skill, we're going to become Berserk for a duration, so when we put up that wall, we're going to get a ton of damage. And what's really cool about this is right below, we have There Is Only Red. Whenever AMON kills an enemy while Berserk is active, we're going to restore the duration and increase the bonus cryo damage. So this is just absolutely disgusting. You can't skip on these two nodes here. They're so powerful. And then lastly, I have 2 points into Brimming Vigor here, and I have 1 point down here into My Touch is Death. We're going to be hitting people so frequently with those fish slaps that you really don't need more than 1 point here. You can make the argument for more points. I totally understand it. I have not found the need for it yet. Perfectly fine with 1 point. Alright, now into our Specializations tab. I have got points into Runner for extra melee damage, but as you can see, I've got a little more than I need. You only need about 30 points into this before it gets super diminishing, so don't waste points in here like I have stupidly. I will be respecking soon. And then for our passives here, it's not too important what you have here, but I would recommend that you have Groundbreaker because you will be able to trigger that in your gameplay. And once you put your points into Runner, I'd recommend going Brute and Sharpshooter and meeting in the middle here for more status effect damage and crit damage in Killer, and then just go all in here. But with Specialization, I don't think it's the end of the world if you want to go your own route here. This is just what I have. So how does gameplay work for this build? Well, in a typical mobbing scenario, you have one of two choices. Either rely on the Kickballer to nuke everything and risk killing yourself, or pull out your whip and start deleting groups of ads and then using the fish slap in combo to kind of just merge that power together and just start wiping rooms out. It's very, very easy to do. Just don't forget in combat to place down your shield. That's your forge skill, and it is going to trigger Enrage, which is going to give you a ton of extra damage. And that's going to be very important because modifiers in this game suck, like they do in basically every Borderlands game. So having that extra damage where you can will allow you to bypass elements and all kinds of modifiers that are going to try to shut down this build and playstyle, and obviously we do not want that. Now for bossing, I'm going to show you how this is going to work. So basically, you want to grab your Kickballer, make sure your shield is ready, and the shield is actually going to reflect the Kickballer projectiles, which a lot of people don't actually know. So what you want to do is go up to the boss, place the shield down in front of them, pop our rep kit, and then we're going to ricochet off of that shield to absolutely nuke everything in the room. Now, I only fired one projectile, you can obviously do more, but that's basically going to delete every boss in the game with absolute ease. It really is that simple. You can destroy vault bosses like this, you can destroy the final boss like this. It works on basically every boss in the game. The only thing you need to be aware of is that if a boss has a really thin and basically clean hitbox is the way I would explain it, it's going to be harder to get those ricochets going off. And one more thing that I do want to point out about this build, just in case you don't want to use the fish slap here, is that you can actually sub this out with a purple ordnance known as the triple barrel shrapnels, because these are very, very, very strong. But yeah, if you want something that's just a little heavier overall and you don't want to use a grenade, you can go with these because they are very, very strong, because they're going to apply that cryo dot and just absolutely nuke enemies. But just not for me personally. They were really good and I was using them a while ago, but now I've transitioned into using the Slippy, which is working a lot better for me personally. But with that being said, let's polish off this video by showing you what it looks like to melt a vault monster, because this is very, very satisfying to do. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's go ahead and destroy Inceptus real quick. I'm going to put down my shield, chuck my ordnance, pop my rep kit, and then we're just going to let Gravity do the rest of the work, basically, and just watch as he gets absolutely nuked. If I can not kill myself in the process. But yeah, there you go. So this is basically how the build works. It's pretty easy, not rehearsed. That was just first take, I guess. just really easy to nuke enemies. And with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, go and check out the full build over on Mobalytics, and thank you to them for partnering up with me for this video. Any build I post from now on is going to be posted over there, in addition to probably some in-game guides I'm going to write up as well. So yeah, very excited to do that. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like on it, sub to the channel, and don't forget to join the Discord. All of that is linked below, especially if you want to get in there, make some friends, find some people to trade with, and even interact with me. My Discord is the place to do it, so I would love to see you all over there. Until the next one, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will check you all in the next one.